I bought the mountain cabin for $12,000 3 months after my divorce finalized. At the time, it felt like the last smart decision I'd made in a year full of disasters. The plan was simple. Fix it up, breathe mountain air, maybe flip it for enough profit to start over. I wasn't chasing happiness anymore, just stability. So there I was, driving up a winding road outside Woodland Park, Colorado, with Miguel riding shotgun. Miguel had worked with me for years, solid contractor, sharp instincts, the kind of guy who could spot structural rot from 20 feet away. The road curved one final time through thick ponderosa pines. I slammed the brakes. Car sat in my driveway. Not rusted beaters either. Family vehicles. A bike leaned against the porch. Another lay in the grass. The cabin wore fresh sage green paint. Curtains in the windows. Miguel stared. "Boss, you expecting company?" My stomach dropped. We stepped out. Lunch smells drifted from my kitchen. Something sizzling. Something familiar. I walked up the steps, still half convinced I was dreaming. Before I knocked, the door swung open. She stood there barefoot in yoga pants, coffee mug in hand, blonde hair perfectly messy. She looked me up and down the way a salesperson evaluates whether you can afford what they're selling. "Yes," she asked sweetly. "Can I help you?" I held up the deed. "Ma'am, this is my property." She glanced at it and laughed. "Oh, sweetie, we've lived here over a year. Adverse possession. You should really look it up." The door closed in my face. I stood there frozen, holding paperwork that suddenly meant nothing. Miguel whispered, "What the hell just happened?" I knocked again, harder. The door reopened. Now a tall, scrappy guy stood behind her, mid-20s, unemployed beard, hostile posture. "I need documentation proving you're allowed to be here," I said, keeping my voice level. She smiled. "With a residence. You're trespassing." Then she said the words that flipped everything upside down. "Tyler," called the sheriff. 20 minutes later, Deputy Rick Morrison pulled up. He hugged her like family. She cried on command. "He's threatening us, taking pictures, making us feel unsafe." Rick barely glanced at my deed. "Civil matter," he said. "You'll need to go through the courts." Then he told me to leave or be arrested. Smoke drifted from my chimney. I drove down the mountain in stunned silence. That night, she posted, Facebook groups exploded. Corporate slumlord harassing a single mother. Predatory investors stealing a family home. I didn't sleep. The next morning, anger replaced shock. Adverse possession in Colorado requires 18 continuous years, not fairy tales. So I started digging. Brenda Hutchkins, 52, bleach blonde, designer activewear, professional victim. She'd run this exact scam before. 3 counties. Same playbook. She'd been living in my cabin for 8 months, running an illegal Airbnb. $150 a night. Booked solid. Filed a homestead exemption. Dodged taxes. And 3 days before I arrived, she'd filed a complaint claiming she was being harassed. She declared war first. Then she went public. Channel 9 aired her sob story. GoFundMe launched. Donations poured in. That's when I called Rosemary Ree, former corporate fraud lawyer, mountain recluse. "Brilliant. This isn't squatting," she said calmly. "It's fraud. We found her real home, a trailer 40 miles away. Active utilities. Paid taxes. Local businesses hated her. She scammed everyone. Then Tyler destroyed the cabin. Windows smashed. Walls punched. Pipes ripped out. She filmed it, blaming me. What she didn't know was I had security cameras. 12 hours of crystal clear vandalism. $15,000 in damage. Then Tyler threatened me. Then I found Harold Brennan's documents hidden inside the wall. Medical records. Power of attorney forms. Insurance papers. Brenda had been his caregiver. She was the beneficiary. The signatures were forged. Rosemary's voice went cold. "Jake, this is elder abuse. Possibly murder." I called the FBI. Agent Sarah Martinez showed up within hours. This just became a federal investigation. 3 days later, she called me at 2 a.m. Harold wasn't the only one. For elderly men, same pattern. Same outcome. Brenda wasn't a squatter. She was a serial killer. And my cabin purchase threatened her entire operation. The hunt had begun. Once the FBI stepped in, everything accelerated. Agent Sarah Martinez didn't deal in drama, only facts, timelines, and evidence. And what she laid out inside my cramped studio apartment felt unreal, like a bad crime documentary I'd accidentally wandered into. Brenda Hutchkins wasn't just exploiting properties. She was hunting people. Elderly men, isolated, no close family, decent assets, life insurance policies. Harold Brennan had been one of at least 4 confirmed victims. The pattern was chillingly precise. Brenda met them through senior centers, grief groups, or community outreach programs. She posed as a struggling widow, became indispensable, took over medications, managed finances, redirected mail, isolated them from friends and family. Then came the slow decline, confusion, weight loss, weakness, antifreeze, arsenic, low doses, long timelines, natural causes on paper, murder in reality. And she'd lived off it while renting out my cabin, while crying on the news, while calling me the predator. The worst part? My purchase had put me on her radar as a threat. Not because I wanted my house back, but because I disrupted her income stream and exposed her lies. I was never just a landlord problem. I was a loose end, the pressure cooker. Once the investigation went federal, Brenda started unraveling. Fake social media accounts attacked my business. Yelp reviews accused me of abuse. Someone slashed my tires. A brick shattered my apartment window with a note tied to it. Final warning. Then Tyler showed up in my parking lot. He tried to negotiate. Split the insurance money, he said casually. 20 grand each. Mom says we walk. He didn't realize I was recording. Extortion. Conspiracy. Accessory to murder. Served up voluntarily. 2 days later, my tires were slashed again. Then came the call from Agent Martinez that changed everything. Jake, Brenda just contacted the insurance company. She was trying to file a second claim on Harold's policy, using Harold's old phone number, claiming to be his estate administrator. On a recorded line, she confessed without realizing it. And then Tyler made his fatal mistake. He broke into my apartment, stole my laptop, and walked straight into FBI surveillance. That same night, Agent Martinez dropped a bomb. Madison wants to talk. Brenda's daughter had finally cracked. She knew. She'd always known. Her mother had bragged about taking care of old men, about how easy it was, about how nobody listened when the victims were old, lonely, or confused. Madison agreed to wear a wire. Then everything went nuclear. The murder plot. The day before the town hall meeting, Tyler showed up again, this time terrified. She's lost it, he whispered. She's talking about burning the cabin down, making it look like you did it. Then Madison spoke. She hired bikers, she said, shaking. She wants you dead. Agent Martinez didn't hesitate. The FBI had already intercepted the calls. 3 members of the Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club were arrested with gasoline, weapons, and text messages confirming payment. $5,000. To kill me. And then Madison played the recording. Brenda's voice, high, slurred, triumphant. A little antifreeze in his coffee every morning. 3 months. He thought it was a flu. She laughed. He signed everything before he croaked. That recording alone was enough for life in prison. But Brenda wasn't done yet. The town hall, Thursday night. Woodland Park Community Center. Packed. Over 200 residents. 3 news crews. Brenda arrived in a wheelchair. Neck brace. Oxygen tank. Arm sling. The performance was breathtaking. She sobbed into the microphone. Spoke of caregiving. Of love. Of injustice. The crowd believed her. Then I stood and asked one question. What illness did Harold Brennan have? She hesitated. Dementia. Agent Martinez stood up. Harold Brennan was never diagnosed with dementia. Fletcher Brennan, Harold's nephew, walked forward. My uncle was murdered by this woman. The room went silent. Evidence followed. Medical records. Forged signatures, financial transfers, surveillance footage. Brenda screamed. Then she made her final mistake. She stood up, perfectly healthy. He deserved it, she shouted. That stupid old man was wasting his money. The handcuffs clicked, live on television. Aftermath. 6 months later, the cabin is quiet again, peaceful. Brenda Hutchins was sentenced to life without parole for 4 counts of first-degree murder, plus 40 years for federal fraud. Tyler received 8 years. Madison testified, entered protective custody, and now lives with relatives in Texas. She's in therapy. She's thriving. The community rebuilt the cabin together. Deputy Morrison apologized. Miguel and I launched Mountain Honest Contracting, helping fraud victims reclaim their lives. And Harold Brennan's legacy lives on through the Mountain Elder Protection Initiative, protecting seniors across rural Colorado. Every sunrise on that porch reminds me of one truth. Predators thrive on silence. Justice begins the moment someone refuses to walk away. The mountain air tastes clean again. And this time it's real,